Good evening. And first at 5, new information about the Southwest Portland apartment building that went up in flames last week. And now turns out firefighters have responded to that century-plus-old building more than 24 times in the last 6 months. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko.
And I'm Laurel Porter. We uncovered this information on the same day investigators went inside the apartment building in hopes of learning more about the cause. Mike Benner's been all over this story from the very start. He's at the scene for us. Mike, before you tell us about today's operation, tell us a little bit about what you learned in those public records.
Yeah, for sure, Laurel. Those records obtained by KGW indicate that firefighters have responded to this building more than 30 times since late November. Half of those responses came after someone intentionally pulled the fire alarm. The public record suggests this was done for malicious or mischievous reasons. In all likelihood, that'll come up in this investigation. An investigation that continued this afternoon with investigators going inside the May apartments for the first time since this fire broke out. They went directly to the room where they believe the fire started, but they stayed only a few minutes. They came back outside so the technical rescue team or structural collapse specialist could go in and build safety shoring and reinforcements to protect against a collapse. Once that was complete, investigators went back inside and they got to work with the help of the arson detection canine Kiki that can sniff out the presence of accelerants. All of this happened while support staff looked on from the outside, monitoring any movement of exterior walls, wind speed, things that could negatively impact the structural integrity of the building. Needless to say, this building is in bad shape and the Fire Bureau is not taking any chances. Listen.
So this is an unreinforced masonry building with like a wooden facade and some brick facade on the outside of that. So it's a convoluted sort of structure that has been significantly damaged by the fire and water. So absolutely we're taking this as seriously as it needs to be, and there's a significant threat, absolutely.
And speaking of that threat, the owners of the building have 30 days to decide if they will rebuild from what's left or tear down the building, and that 30-day clock started last Thursday. We'll, of course, keep tabs on that as well as this official investigation. Let's send it back to you.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate the update there. In our homeless crisis, from meals to transitional housing, there are local programs that provide a lifeline, and they're also in need of funding. Though with the county sitting on leftover taxpayer funds, some nonprofits are now asking why there appear to be so many strings attached. Blair Best takes a look at the budget bureaucracy.
It's going on week 3 of Myrna Gardner's time at the Bybee Lakes Hope Center in North Portland, an emergency homeless shelter.
I came in from Texas. I was couch hopping for a while, and then I ran out of couches.
With the help from the center's staff, she's now working on finding permanent housing.
They help you find places to look at. They can put you to work, help you get work.
It's part of the long-term reentry program at Bybee Lakes that needs financial support from the county to be sustainable.
We've been offered the opportunity to receive some money from the county. And when we looked into it, they wanted us to change our model to do it. And we're not willing to change what we know works.
That could all change based on the new leadership on the county level. Chair Jessica Vega Peterson told us in a statement that they'll consider every shelter option, including Bybee Lakes. And there's money to spend. A recent report shows Multnomah County has more than $46 million left over from the Supportive Housing Services Fund that was passed in 2020.
It's extremely frustrating to know that at the end of a year that there's so many millions of dollars left over, and we're saying we want to help, we're on your team, but we need your help to provide that service. And they would rather end the year with money not spent than give us the opportunity to do our job.
What Bybee Lakes is asking for and what we and other nonprofits have been asking for is some public consideration for the gaps we're filling.
Blanchet House in Old Town is facing a similar financial problem. They're known for serving 3 hot meals a day to those in need.
For whatever reason, and nobody seems to know the reason, our hot prepared meal service has never really qualified for funding.
Yet it makes up more than a third of their $3 million budget.
We could use some help We could use some help with that.
The services here at Blanchet House go beyond just food and shelter. They also save lives. In just the past 2 months, staff have revived more than a dozen people who were overdosing right outside their doors.
It makes me sad, right? Because there are people who have really significant needs right now.
Like Myrna, who would be on the street if it weren't for this shelter.
That's someplace I don't want to be. So I'll take this place to the street compared to what is on the street.
Blair Best, KGW News.
Meantime, Beaverton's seasonal homeless shelter announced it's staying open all year. The facility on Southwest 5th Street typically operates from November to May, but is staying open due to community need. The city says that's the plan until Beaverton opens its first official year-round shelter next summer. That will be a 12,000 square foot property on Southwest Beaverton Hillsdale Highway.
As we've been reporting, homelessness and substance abuse often go hand in hand. And right now, Oregon ranks last in the nation when it comes to access to treatment for those who need it. So Portland City Council wants to change that statistic by adding 9 so-called sobering beds at the Unity Center's psychiatric hospital. Those would cost the city over $330,000. Those seeking treatment would also get access to a nurse, a social worker, and peer counseling. But some say 9 beds is just not enough.
Any bed will make an impact. You could save a life with medical detoxification. And we've done that thousands and thousands of times here in Oregon. We've had medical detox for a long time. So 9 beds are a good first step, but if they're the only step, they're not enough.
A good first step, he says. Council members are set to vote tomorrow.
New tonight, an update on Oregon's stalled Senate and the Republican-led walkouts. Republican senators say they'll return on the last day of the session, more than a month from now. But Democrats say that's not an option. Evan Watson joins us. Evan, you've been following this each step of the way. Is this just more political gamesmanship?
Well, essentially, yes. Senate Republicans say they'll come back with just hours to spare, all to pass, quote, substantially bipartisan budgets and bills. But this proposed tactic is still, in effect, an effort to stop bills that Republicans don't like, and Democrats have already said they won't let this happen. So far, 10 members of the Oregon Senate, 9 Republicans and 1 independent, have reached the limit of 10 unexcused absences for failing to show up and vote on bills. That means they're disqualified from re-election under Measure 113. Republicans plan to challenge that law in court. But the walkouts have stopped the passage of Democrat-sponsored bills on reproductive health care and gun regulation. The Senate doesn't have enough present members to vote. Now, Oregon Republicans say they'll end their standoff on June 25th, the last day of the legislative session, but it's unclear how they plan to force the Senate, which has a Democratic majority, to only vote on the bills that Republicans like or view as bipartisan. On Thursday in Salem, I interviewed Republican Tim Knopp, the minority leader in the Senate. We were talking about this exact idea. Republican senators coming back to session right at the death. You'll hear my question to him here off camera and his response.
You can't just say, like the Democrats have, that we will pick and choose which rules and laws that we're going to abide by.
Now, if you come back in the last day, for example, of the session to vote on a budget or a couple of other things, wouldn't that be pick and choosing which bills you're voting on?
Well, we've always said that I said from the very beginning before the session started that if they wanted to be bipartisan, we're all in for that. If they wanted to, to move a leftist progressive national agenda, we'll fight them every step of the way.
Democrat Rob Wagner, Senate president, said last week that he will not let Republicans return with 12 hours left and determine the bills and budgets that they want to vote on. Wagner said, quote, "That's not what democracy is. It just isn't." And he'll stick to that standard. So once again, the two parties have no clear path forward.
Evan Watson on the walkout that just keeps going again. Thank you, Evan. We'll take you to Southeast Portland now, where police responded to a shooting overnight. They've spent much of the day focused on a house near Southeast Boise and 80th. That's in the Foster Powell neighborhood. At one point, they used a loudspeaker to give commands to a person or people inside the home. Officers tell us the situation is likely some sort of domestic dispute, and one woman has been taken to the hospital. We will update you as we learn more.
A private security guard who was convicted of murdering a man in a Lowe's parking lot was sentenced to life in prison today. The killing happened in May of 2021 in North Portland. That's when Logan Gimbel shot Freddie Nelson. According to court documents, Gimbel aggressively confronted Nelson and his wife in their truck, saying Nelson was under arrest. Gimbel pepper sprayed them and blocked their vehicle. In response, Nelson lurched his truck forward, hitting Gimbel, but not injuring him. Gimbel then opened fire. According to a civil suit, there was a personal dispute between Nelson, the landowners, and the security company, and that guards have been instructed to harass him. Gimbel will have the possibility of parole after 25 years.
To a health alert this evening with the CDC warning of a salmonella outbreak in 6 states, including Oregon and Washington. Officials say it has been linked to raw cookie dough sold at Papa Murphy's. There have been 18 cases with 2 people hospitalized so far, though officials say the number of sick people, is likely much higher. If you bought Papa Murphy's cookie dough or S'mores bars dough, you are advised to throw it away and wash any items and surfaces it may have touched.